We see a cute ladybug couple, whose little babies have just hatched from their eggs. The parents start teaching their kids how to fly, but the tiny ones can barely lift off. Suddenly, one little baby ladybug falls to the ground. His name was Cox. Nearby, a fly notices him and bursts out laughing before flying away, but Cox doesn't care. He tries again, flapping his tiny wings with all his strength, and slowly, he learns how to fly. Soon, the parents gather all their babies and start flying home, but on the way, that same fly shows up again, mocking Cox once more. This time, Cox chases after her, but the fly calls her entire swarm. Seeing the danger, Cox panics and flies away, faster and faster, until he loses sight of his family. In a rush, he crashes into a rock and falls to the ground. One of his wings breaks, and everything fades to black. The flies hover over him, laughing. "This one's done for," one of them says, and they all fly away. The scene shifts. A car stops near a quiet valley. A couple steps out. They're here for a picnic. The lady is pregnant. They spread out their food, enjoying the view, until suddenly, the woman clutches her stomach in pain. The couple panics and rushes back to the car, heading straight for the hospital. Their food and supplies remain scattered across the grass. Night falls. Cox slowly opens his eyes. He tries to fly again, but with one broken wing, he crashes back down. Scared and alone, he calls out for his family, but no one answers. They're long gone. Rain starts to fall. Cox hides under a mushroom for shelter, but gets startled by a snail's huge eyes and runs away again. He keeps walking through the dark until he reaches the same picnic spot. There, he crawls into a box filled with sugar cubes and hides inside. The next morning, Cox peeks out of the box, and what he sees leaves him stunned. Dozens of bugs and insects are all over the place, carrying away the leftovers the humans left behind. Everyone's grabbing whatever they can. Chaos everywhere. Nearby, a group of black ants carries fruits back to their colony. Their leader, Mandible, suddenly catches a sweet scent in the air. Following the smell, she arrives at the picnic spot. Cox quickly hides back inside the sugar box. Mandible climbs up the tin box and takes a small bite of sugar, and the taste blows her mind. It's so good that she starts dancing in excitement. She immediately calls her team over, and within seconds, all the ants drop their old food and rush toward the sugar box. Together, they lift the heavy tin and begin their journey home, unaware that Cox is still hiding inside. As they move along the path, the box bumps against a stone wall and falls. Sugar cubes scatter everywhere, and Cox gets thrown out, unconscious once again. The ants rush to gather the sugar cubes back into the box. Then they spot Cox lying nearby. They move closer to help, but suddenly, a lizard appears. All the ants freeze in fear and hide behind the sugar cubes. The lizard sniffs around and finds one of the ants. At that moment, Cox wakes up. He sees the danger, and despite his injury, he crawls back into the metal box and makes a loud echoing noise. The sound echoes like a monster's roar, scaring the lizard away instantly. The ants are amazed. Their leader, Mandible, looks at Cox with pride. She decides to take him with them. Mandible signals one of her scouts with her antenna to show the way back to their colony. The journey begins once again, but then a swarm of red ants blocks their path. Their leader, Buter, steps forward like a mob boss. Seeing trouble, Mandible stays calm. She takes one sugar cube from the box and offers it to him. "Here, your share. Now let us pass." Buter takes the cube and lets them go, but his eyes are filled with rage. He doesn't just want to share, he wants everything. And so, the red ants start following them. Cox spots them approaching. He quickly rushes to warn his leader, Mandible. Without hesitation, Mandible signals her team, "Move fast, let's go!" The black ants carefully slide their sugar box downhill, navigating with precision and teamwork. They reach the river and begin moving forward. Suddenly, the red ants' leader, Buter, jumps into a nearby soda can with his army. He rolls it downhill at lightning speed, sending them crashing into the river as well. Now, the red ants chase the black ants, ramming the sugar box with their soda can, trying to knock it off balance. The box wobbles dangerously. Cox slips and falls into the water. A pickerel fish darts toward him, ready to strike. But Mandible is quick and clever. She forms a chain with her team, grabs Cox, and pulls him to safety. Cox gasps, shaken but alive. Then they see it, a massive waterfall ahead. Everyone dives into the sugar box for safety. Behind them, the red ants and the pickerel fish are swept over the edge. The soda can fills with water and sinks, forcing the red ants to scramble out for their lives. Buter watches in rage. Meanwhile, the black ants continue floating safely, and the pickerel fish is trapped and dies. Downstream, the sugar box crashes against a rock. The black ants quickly recover all the sugar cubes and march toward their colony. Cox follows closely behind. Along the way, Cox spots a swarm of ladybugs. He tries to fly to join them, but with only one wing, he falls. Resigned, he continues his journey alongside the ants. Back at the crash site, Buter arrives. He smells the trail of the sugar cubes and realizes the black ants are ahead. He begins following them. Night falls. The black ants sleep beside their sugar cubes, but Cox and Mandible stay awake, keeping watch. Mandible attempts to teach Cox the ant language, how to guide and communicate like a true ant. Cox struggles, but Mandible smiles, patient and proud. Morning comes, and the ants march forward again. The red ants are closing in. Cox sees them and rushes to warn Mandible. "The red ants are behind us." They rush across a road, and a car speeds by. The roar of the engine terrifies the red ants, who scatter in panic. Mandible leads her team safely to the other side. Finally, after days of travel, they reach their hill, home, at last. Cox hesitates at the edge. Mandible turns to him, smiling, "You can stay with us." Cox Cox smiles back and follows her inside. Inside the colony, Cox sees thousands of ants working tirelessly, carrying food, building tunnels, and presenting offerings to their queen ant. The queen is the heart of their world, laying all the eggs and ensuring the next generation thrives. Mandible presents a sugar cube to the queen. She tastes it, delighted, and lays dozens of eggs at once. Meanwhile, Buter reaches the black ant's territory, furious that he couldn't get the sugar cubes. He returns to his kingdom to rally his army. Buter reaches his queen and reports, "The black ants have the sugar cubes. They are helping their queen lay eggs. We must attack. Our army is strong. They cannot defeat us. Bring those sugar cubes to us." The queen listens and gives the order. "All of you, follow Buter. Destroy the black ant's entire kingdom. Bring their sugar cubes back for us." The red ant's entire army marches forward, armed with slingshots and sharp thorns, ready for battle. Meanwhile, in the black ant's kingdom, night falls, and the ants secure their palace gates with a massive stone. Cox sleeps among them, dreaming of the ladybug he once met. In his dream, he has a family with her, 3 little ladybug children, and life seems perfect and beautiful. Suddenly, his eyes snap open. He climbs to the top of the hill and checks his wings. His broken wing is growing back, but it's still too small. He cannot fly. Mandible watches him silently, her expression a mix of concern and pride, but there's nothing she can do. Morning comes. The black ants are asleep when strange noises ripple through the air. They rush outside and freeze. The red ant army is attacking. They have surrounded the black ants on all sides, firing tiny projectiles from slingshots and launching toothpicks like arrows. It looks like a full-scale invasion. The toothpicks rain down, but luckily, none of the black ants are seriously hurt. The black ants fight back. They hurl objects at the red ants and scatter aspirin tablets around the palace. As the aspirin mixes with water, it foams and blocks the red ants, stopping their advance. Cox joins Mandible in planning a counterattack. They sneak into the storeroom filled with supplies. A loyal guard gives them a matchbox and several small rockets. The black ants carefully attach the rockets to the top of their palace, but there's one problem. They don't know how to ignite them. Mandible opens the matchbox. There's only one matchstick inside with instructions printed on the back. He strikes the match carefully. It lights, and sparks ignite the first rocket. The rocket soars into the sky, then crashes down on the red ants. Explosions erupt. Several red ants are defeated, but the matchstick burns out. No more matches remain. Buter's fury grows. His soldiers try to smash the black ant's main gate with a pine cone, while continuing relentless slingshot attacks. The black ants panic. How can we protect ourselves? They wonder. Cox studies the matchbox intently. Then he remembers there was a matchbox at the picnic site. He shares his plan. "I can get the matchbox, but I have to leave now." Mandible quickly instructs her team. "Make a paper plane from a note." Cox climbs onto the paper plane. The ants launch it into the air, and it glides away, carrying him safely. Cox's wings have grown enough to try flying. He flaps hard and lifts off, riding the plane across the skies. The red ants try to stop him, but Cox is too fast. He flies through forests and fields for hours, finally arriving at the picnic site. The matchbox is right where he left it. Cox grabs it and tries to fly again, but his wing is still too small. He can't lift off. Suddenly, a spider appears. Cox hides, holding his breath. The spider picks up the matchbox and starts carrying it away. Cox chases silently, unnoticed. The spider moves through a sewage pipe, emerging into a muddy area where it has turned a dollhouse into its home. She feels like someone is watching her, but Cox is hidden, staying completely still. The spider sees nothing and walks inside, matchbox in tow. Cox flutters outside the spider's house and slowly makes his way inside. Suddenly, a frog in the water glares at them. Cox climbs the stairs, only to see the spider weaving a web using the matchsticks. The frog strikes. Its long tongue shoots out, trying to catch Cox. The spider notices too. Cox struggles to escape. He grabs a window, and the entire dollhouse topples onto the frog, knocking it out cold. Cox loses consciousness. In his dream, he sees the ladybug again. He's back with his family, teaching his little ones to fly. When he opens his eyes, he's lying on a bed. The spider plays music for him because thanks to Cox, the frog that always troubled him is gone. The spider offers him a grape. Cox sips its juice, regaining his strength. He moves toward the matchbox. "Spider, I need this. My friends are in danger, and I have to help them." The spider nods and places the matchbox outside. Cox lifts it and takes off, his wings now fully grown. He flies out of the sewer, heading for the black ant's colony. On the way, he spots a swarm of flies harassing the ladybug he loves. She's been separated from her family. Cox drops the matchbox, rushing to help. He confronts the flies. "If you've got the guts, try and catch me." Then, with a cheeky fart, he sends them flying. The flies chase him straight into the street. A car speeds by. Cox quickly dodges, but the flies aren't so lucky. They crash into the car, injured. Cox laughs and returns to the ladybug, kissing her gently. They've fallen in love. Cox promises, "I'll come back soon, but first I have to help my friends." The ladybug follows. Cox picks up the matchbox and says, "Danger ahead, you stay here." Then he flies off with the matchbox. At the black ant's colony, the red ants are still attacking. The palace is weakened, end, crumbling slowly. Mandible waits anxiously, hoping for Cox's help. Suddenly, she hears his voice. Everyone cheers. Cox lands with the matchbox and says, "I brought plenty of matchsticks. Now we can teach Buter and his army a lesson." Mandible and the black ants ignite the rockets using the matchsticks. The rockets soar into the sky, raining down on the red ants. Many red ants are defeated. The red ant army panics and retreats. Flames spread everywhere. Buter watches his army flee, furious and helpless. He retreats too. A fire breaks out in the forest, but a fire rescue plane arrives, dropping water and putting out the flames. The black ants' home is destroyed, but thankfully, everyone survives. The black ants mourn the loss of their palace. Cox is worried too. A few days later, Cox is living happily with the ladybug. They now have 5 children. He teaches them to fly and cherishes every moment. The black ants begin rebuilding their fortress. Cox visits Mandible, and together they watch their home rise again.